For my fourth movie that I decided to catch on after my trip to Japan, I decided to watch a movie that I wasn't too eagerly keen to watch it. And because the other movie that I decided to watch is The Secret Life of Pets 2, which is the sequel to the other movie that came out years ago, The Secret Life of Pets. Truth to be told, I freaking hated the first movie. I totally hated that film, mostly because I thought that the character design were not good. I hated how mean-spirited the whole story it is. It was technically very cynical. The story was unappealing. I thought that many of the characters were unlikable. They were annoying, except for one character. I only liked one character in this movie, and that is because that character had a goal and had a likable personality, which I'll get into it. But so I was dreading Secret Life of Pets 2. Especially because considering that this movie was basically kind of successful, and it's also made by these guys who technically I don't think they have the right heart about making animated films, which is Illumination Studios. What I meant by that is that when you look at movies made by people who try their best on animation, like Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, and even Leica Studios, I think Illumination is probably the most cynical animation studios in America for the time being, because most of their products, I don't think they do it with the correct intentions of heart. They just do it because we can do animation, so we're gonna make it just to entertain your children. And I think this is the mentality of why many people who they love animation, they are kind of like adults into it. They had this kind of grudge against it, especially considering how they only make money because the minions are loud or annoying and everything. And especially in how they saturate their marketing. They market a lot. I think they market even more than Disney do. But this kind of a little bit of a hindsight. Funny enough, because when I went to Tokyo and during my final days, when I went to finally see Godzilla, there was this Minion statue there, which had almost no business doing there in the cinemas. It had no business because there was no Minions movie. And they were still heavily promoting Secret Life of Pets too. But the more the days came by, the more I was dreading to watch Secret Life of Pets 2. And you might be thinking, okay, but then you shouldn't go watch it. I gotta say that deep in my heart, I did want to give the movie a chance. So I finally decided to watch The Secret Life of Pets 2 today. That kind of like the fourth movie I decided to catch on. Here's my humble opinion about this movie. I think I tolerated this movie a little bit better compared to the last one. But still, that's not saying much, because this movie kind of shows a lot of problems that it kind of makes it clear the kind of movie that Illumination Studio wants to be. It's a movie that had a good idea, a good potential, but they ruin it. They ruin it because they just feel like they just want to pander to the common denominator, which is none other than children. And it came out with a product that, although to be fair, I just came out in a way kind of liking it better than the first one. But still, that's not saying much, because I can see the lots of problems that this movie has. And maybe the biggest reason why I came out liking this movie better than the first one, maybe it has because of two reasons. First of all, I just came out from a really, really shitty movie, and that is Aladdin. I hated Aladdin with a passion that is so big that many people wouldn't understand me. And by the way, no, I'm not trying to be a contrarian. And the second reason that why I kind of tolerated this movie better than the first one is that there is one thing that I hated worse than this movie apart from Aladdin. And that's probably the audience themselves. The audience are... I know that many of the audience were kind of children, but what I hate... But this way kind of proves the kind of stupidity that moviegoers go. And that is that they cannot control their children. The children can't stop shutting up on this film. They talk about it, they say that, oh, I saw it in the trailer, Look, I don't want to go against, laughter in movie theater because that's an emotional response. I like our emotional response in movies, but when children kind of constantly talk during the movie and the parent doesn't teach them the ethics of going to the movies, I don't think that the movie theater should be a place for children anymore. Or at least you should give them kind of like a separate rooms where you can give them hang around all this stuff. I mean, again, in the freaking Aladdin film, there was a girl who was watching The Incredibles on a tablet, and that's terrible parenting. In which it's sad to me that there is almost no ethics in movie-going experiences. But when I'm here talking about my rants on movies, when I'm supposed to be talking about The Secret Life of Pets 2, a sequel about that, in a way, is a lot very inferior than the first one, considering that I hated the first one. But again, I tolerate it and kind of liking it better, a little bit better, but not saying much. Not saying much. That doesn't excuse the movie to being a pretty bad. But here goes. So basically, The Secret Life of Pets is mostly from what it is. It feels more like a pitch for a TV series more than a movie, or it tries to be kind of like the early Looney Tunes movies where it's just a series of sketch involving characters, and that's probably the goal that it wanted to be. In this case, we just only see the life of the animals, the pets themselves, what they're doing when people are not around. And well, technically the first movie is like, for lack of better words, is technically a ripoff to Toy Story, which honestly that was the least of the problems that I had with the first one. I only think that the biggest problem that I had with the first one is how unlikable the characters were. But this one, I see that it tried to have a goal. I wish I could say what was the plot of the movie, because this movie has technically not just one plot. It has three subplots that they try to mesh together kind of miserably. And for the most part, I feel like this is your hour-long version of the Phineas and Ferb formula. Disney Channel cartoon that the writing style, I find it highly, highly overrated. Because, here's the thing, in the show Phineas and Ferb, they almost every single episode they come up with three plots. A plot with the titular character, a plot with a secondary character, and a plot with a pet, apparently. And these plots, they kind of sometimes go meshed together in a way, but it always happens that the first two, they kind of feel related until then the third one comes out of nowhere, only to give us the MacGuffin of the series, and it repeats over and over again. And I'm not very fond of that kind of formula. In this case, in Secret Life of Pets, what are the three plots? The first plot, it involves basically the main character, Max, the dog from the first movie. He's voiced by Patton Oswalt. He's replacing the voice actor from the first movie, Louis C.K. For reasons I'm not gonna go there. And of course, the plot involves that he and his owner, and now that he lives with the other big dog named Duke, played by Eric Stonestreet, their owner got married and now has a child, a child that likes the dog a little bit too much. And Max feels like, oh, he's my child, so I must protect it. He becomes kind of paranoid to the point that he just scratches himself too much, and then they go to a trip to a farm where he meets a dog named Rooster, played by none other than the legendary Harrison Ford. And well, he's just there to learn how to be a brave dog, and that's plot number one. Plot number two, it involves the rabbit, played by the rabbit named Snowball, played by Kevin Hart, in which he plays like he wants to be kind of like a superhero. He plays like a superhero until I think it was a toy poodle dog comes to him. A dog named what was it? Daisy, played by Tiffany Haddish. She comes and tells him the story that she found kind of like this kind of like the most evil looking guy who is kind of like a circus magician who is treating very poorly to this white tiger, and she wants him to help him. And of course he takes the case because, well, he just has a big ego, and technically then they rescue the tiger and they don't know what to do with it, and of course they have to deal with the villain, which I'll get to it in a moment. And then we got the quote-unquote Perry the Platypus plot, which is the third plot, which involves Gidget, the little female dog played by Jenny Slate, in which she is given the task by Max to take care of his favorite toy while he's gone, and because she has a crush on him, she kind of treats it kind of like a baby. But then she accidentally loses to the room where the crazy cat lady is, and because there's a lot of cats, she wants to learn the way of the cat in order to mesh with them, and that's basically it. These are the three plots that you can get to. And you know what? None of them kind of mesh together. They don't know what to do. It's distracting during the whole movie because you kind of follow, okay, which is the main plot? That is until they finally mesh together, but you feel like it doesn't accomplish. That's the biggest problem that the movie has. That it has three plots that it feels separate from each other. And then when you finally get to mesh, you don't feel the accomplishment that there is. It's just three separate ideas, and that's it. They couldn't do. They just do it for the sake of just do it. Unless the three plots will meet up much more constantly than you could ever imagine. Then I could have. There's a way. There's how you could fix your movie if they could relate more to that. But it doesn't go there, and it feels that they just made the movie just for the sake of making a movie with just three plots. That's it. But let's go a little by little on the individual plots, because some of the individual plots really has their own share of, individual problems. First is the Max plot. I want to reiterate a little bit that I'm not exactly very fond of the character design of Max, because I always think about those little legs. They look like drumstick legs. If if anyone's seen Mortal Kombat 11, there is a fatality in which one character kind of burns the legs of one character, and they leave him kind of like the chicken drumsticks with bones. That's how I imagine Max's legs. They're too thin that with that body, I was like, okay, I know this is a character design, but I can't help to think about how thin those look. And the thing is that the first movie, it only concentrated with him and his asshole-ish relationship with Duke, which is kind of like a bigger but dumber dog, which was also really unlikable, of course. But he's unlikable for dumb reasons. And he had kind of like this loving relationship with his owner, which is kind of like this girl, this woman now. I mean. But then the movie kind of jumps in. It wants to advance the plot a little bit too fast by saying that, oh, she meets this big guy and then she gets married and they have the child who, let's face it, any child can be annoying, but this kid is kind of way a little bit too into the dog. And it's funny that it showed that they wanted to make a kind of like an arc with Max saying that, oh, I hate children, but then he just warms up to the kids in the first 5 minutes of the film, and it feels like it's not accomplished. It didn't feel like it was earned. It felt like, coming from the first movie, and it felt like it was just there and there. Now he becomes kind of very paranoid to the point of wanting to protect him from almost everything. Although it didn't go into cartoonish way, he just kind of expressed it, mostly because, yeah, the kid is ready to go to preschool. So then we also get the sequence that we see to the veterinarian. Of course they put him on the collar because he keeps scratching out of distress. Although there is one joke that is even in the trailer that I really like, in which some other animals were showing their emotional mental illness, but probably the best one that I actually laugh is where there are two kids in a cage, and they have this malevolent smile, and they just gleefully say, "We start fires." Somehow, I just want to know the backstory of these kittens. So, but guess what? That thing, this collar thing, was all for nothing. It was technically all for nothing because it doesn't help on anything on the movie. So they go to their vacation to they vacation to kind of like a farm, and for this point the kid's plot point is almost entirely gone. The kid's plot line is just there, and it just concentrates with Max just kind of trying to bond with the farm dog, which is this dog again played by Harrison Ford, who is kind of like a tough as nails, no emotionless, grumpy dog who tells him that, hey, you're gonna be alright, the kid's gonna be alright, you don't need to be there, 27, and just let things happen, let it hurt himself, because that's the way he will learn. In a way, I really wish that this was the valuable lesson, but they don't explore it. That we live in a society where parents are kind of overprotective, they don't want to show them almost everything. For me, the biggest thing that could be this part of the movie is the scene where the child begins to read Red Riding Hood, and when they reach the part where the wolf eats Red Riding Hood, Max is like, no, don't show it. But then the Harrison dog named Rooster, I forgot to mention that, he just said, hey, let the kid read, he'll be fine. I wish they could have done more with that. But we only concentrated with that, and then Max goes with Rooster to save kind of like this dumbass sheep. and then he feels like he's more braver. It feels like an arc that feels unfinished or unearned. And another nitpick that I have with this movie is that, remember Duke the dog, the big ass dog? You could probably remove him from the movie, and it wouldn't affect anything. Most of the characters you just have to must remove them. I never liked Duke in the first movie, and in this movie kind of proves that, yeah, this character is basically useless. And now we go for the second subplot. The second subplot that this movie has, I gotta admit that this is probably the one that has a little bit more meat on it, because this one has at least a little bit of stakes. Because the second plot that I'm talking about is none other than the subplot involving Snowball, the Kevin Hart rabbit. And like I said before, it involves him and what was it again? Daisy, the Tiffany Haddish dog, trying to rescue this white tiger from the abuse of this very, very, very nonchalant, evil, cynical circus performer. This guy is so evil that, yeah, he dressed in black, he has this evil hat, and he laughs. I don't know who voices the guy. Can I see it for a little bit here? Oh, Nick Kroll. His voice by Nick Kroll. I know that he's having fun with the role, because you can smell evil around it so much that I don't know that a real life circus will allow to do something like that. It will allow something like that. But at least I will say that I feel a little bit empathetic with this plot, because to be fair, you feel bad for the white tiger. The white tiger is cute enough, and I know about the dangers of the white tiger, but still, no animal should deserve to be treated like that. And the causes of Daisy and Snowball are more novel. Well, I put a lot of more emphasis on Daisy, because here's the biggest question of them all. She goes to find help from Snowball because she thinks that he's kind of like a superhero. But I think the biggest joke that it is that during the course of the movie, Snowball, well, technically he's kind of like a scaredy rabbit during the whole thing, just with a big ego. And Daisy kind of do most of the work, being a better hero than the rabbit. And the biggest question is like, so, okay, why do you need him? Of course, I didn't need him for kind of like the climax of the film, but still, you just kind of, well, okay. This is probably where some of the best Looney Tunes gags happen. And the good thing about this movie is that, at least, I could tolerate him. Kevin Hart was insufferable in the last movie. He was totally insufferable, and if it also begs the question, why did he turn into the good guy in the first movie without any arc or anything? This one at least it felt a little bit consistent, and I could tolerate him a little bit better, except kind of in the last and almost after credits, where he just begins to rap, because apparently these kind of people, like comedians like Kevin Hart, they always want to have a knack of rapping. And that's basically my gripe about it. Although they wanted to shoehorn in a little bit on trying to find a home for the white tiger with the old dog and all that, but it doesn't go a little bit too much. But if I put it into kind of perspective, I think this is the kind of like the manipulative way Illumination Studios tries to bring out an emotion to it, because it's obvious that when you see animal cruelty, you're gonna automatically have your heart stuck in. And I wish they could concentrate on that part and men blended well, or becoming kind of like the main part of the movie. Because when you keep on jumping between the other subplot and the Max plot, you feel you feel distracted. You just like, hey, are we in the Max plot or the Snowball plot? It makes it kind of hard, and considering that this is the plot that they use for the climax, when the three plots kind of melt together. And now I have to talk about the third plot, which the third plot involves Gidget, the puffy white dog again, who has a crush on Max. And let me tell you that even with that, of all the Secret Life of Pets movie, even the first movie, she is probably my favorite character. She was, in the first movie, she was the only character who I actually liked. Because I thought that in the first movie, her goal was genuine. She was genuine on her quest that she wants to save her beloved Max. Her unrequited love, I'll say. She was, and you notice that she has a little bit kind of like a sincere, trying her best attitude. A little bit naive, but she was doing her best. And that made her more likable than any of the other characters. This one is no exception. She was still my favorite character. And I just wish that her subplot was much stronger, because it feels like they just wanted to diss her out, but no, they can't. Because her subplot is that before Max goes to his trip, he leaves her his favorite toy, which is kind of like this plushy bee. And because of her crush, she's like, this toy is kind of like her baby or something like that. And I actually really kind of smile in her dream sequence where she is like a family with Max, because I can see them a couple. They're cute together. But they, of course, she accidentally drops it into the apartment of the crazy cat lady where they have lots of cats. And from this point, I don't know what went into her head, thinking that, okay, now I must be like a cat and all that. And she does that. She acts Chloe, the Lake Bell obese cat, in order to teach her the ways. And most of it, you see it on the trailer, where they use kind of like the other leftover characters that they just want to use. They just decide to use just for the sake of the, well, they're there. And then later she turns to kind of like the queen of the cat when she manipulates the cat, showing them that, yeah, that I got the laser from the laser pointer and I eat them. I eat it. And how this blend into the other two plots? Just to play Perry the Platypus and make the last minute save. I wish I could be happy, but what makes me sad about that subplot is that it has no resolve. It doesn't end it. It just she saves the day. She makes the last minute save and she's gone. Way to treat my favorite character and the most likable character in the franchise like that. So for this standpoint, I think I already told you almost all the movie. In a way, I don't feel bad for technically, well, spoiling the whole movie, because it's not that remarkable compared to other movies. And I have to reiterate that I know that many people kind of begin to feel angry about this movie, hate this movie, but you know what? I understand. I understand why many people don't like this movie. Even though I am beginning to see that in the reviews panel, you know, the professional ones, they give me kind of like a 55% on it, which I don't trust, because, man, that when you make an animated film, just like my rant on Disney, they always say that, oh, it's for children. They're not gonna do it. And personally, I find this insulting. I find it insulting that just because just because it is animation or it is from a superior company, that doesn't mean that they're scot-free from saying that that this is terrible or something like that. I've been a little bit getting at when I express my hatred to Aladdin, because again, just the fact that you're Disney doesn't excuse saying that this is bad. And I think that personally, I'm beginning to think that there is technically a fear of saying that this is bad and challenge it, saying that it is bad. Because they will always come out saying with the excuse that, well, you don't understand, this is not made for you, or something like that. This is a poor excuse, because when you're making movies, you're making it for an audience. And when you pick a specific audience, it feels like you are too pretentious to let them know that, well, this is not for you. I mean, instead of inviting them or making something that could be satisfy everyone. It's okay. I'm kind of this is kind of like a mindless rant. It takes a little bit more thought about it. But what I meant to say is that, again, Secret Life of Pets is really, really bad done in a narrative ways. It's just that I've seen things worse than that. It kind of proves how kind of bare bones this movie is. It's bare bones with a little bit of chunks of meat out of it. I can see it. I think The Secret Life of Pets should be more a TV series, and that's how it feels. It's more like a pitch for a TV series that I think that it needs to be, because if I have to go in a little bit of a positive, there were some 2D animated sequences that I actually really like more than the CGI sequence. So basically, that's my take on The Secret Life of Pets. That's too. It's a movie that I hate, that came out tolerating it a little bit, but still seeing that is really, really badly done in a cynical way. You can see the biggest problems that Illumination Studios has, but I think that as much as bad as this movie is, it's not as worse as a certain movie from a very beloved studio that I absolutely hate. Plus, it's not as bad as the kind of audience that you get into these kind of movies. Seriously, parents, control your children a little bit on movie theaters. It can get annoying.